Well, welcome to a new Harry's Farm video, and since the last one I'm pleased to say the cows are back here. They were quite late coming up here. They're not my cows, it's Red Sussex, it's a suckler herd as it's termed. They're owned by an organic farmer, and yeah, he runs this suckler herd up here during the summer and then they go back to his place over winter. And it's really great to have them up here, and I have to say I have been enjoying the estate fencing that was featured in several previous Harry's Farm video, because it's just finer fencing and being black. I don't know, just of an evening or in the morning, there's the cattle near the house, look through the fencing, it's just lovely. Sort of, I hoped it would enhance the sort of Englishness, countryside sort of look, and it does seem to. This is they're in here, this is a very odd mixed sward. This was a mix that was determined, I'm talking about the grass here, by countryside stewardship. And it's obviously never had any sprays or whatever, and we control, like there's thistles coming up here, they will get controlled by topping. But there's also a lot of fescues and clovers in here. I can see the old clover here. So it doesn't actually support a lot of cattle. It's a very traditional sort of pasture, and being on Cotswold brash, it does dry out in the summer. So they won't be on here very long. I can see they grazed it down here. You can see there's sort of clover here. That'll be where the richer tasting grass will be, so they'll make a beeline for that. And they're not particularly interested if it goes stalky like that. Cows like to eat lush leaf on the grass. They're not keen on this sort of stuff. That's why it sort of looks like there's lots of grass from a distance in here, but actually they've grazed it down quite hard, and pretty soon they'll be going down to the valley fields down by the brook, and unfortunately it's dried out, but that's where they'll be heading for the rest of the summer. So I always make the most of them when they're around the house, because they're such a beautiful sight. So a suckler herd means she's calved and the calf stays with her until it gets up to weight, and she has another calf follow on. So then the calves will go off and be in a separate herd, while the bull's running in here somewhere as well, just covering the cows. So they get, yeah, I think he's over there, isn't he? He's a bit camera shy today, I think. He's over there, but I'll put a clip of him wandering around amongst his ladies. The other thing I wanted to show you down here, has been a huge amount going on, and I think on the last video I showed Mark Cheney was just doing that stone wall, and he's really cracked on. So we're going to nip down there, have a look at the stone wall and see what else we're doing down there. 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40. Yeah, Mark has really cracked on with this wall, and I think he's amazed himself. He certainly amazed me how much we've actually done there. So that was 40 metres there, and also that 10 metres he repaired down at the bottom of the field, and he's been here just over 4 weeks now. So yeah, really good going on here. And I mean, it's just a picture, isn't it? I love dry stone walling, and here a lot of it was existing. He's just had to fill in. He's taken the moss off and he's repaired certain holes here, and then from about there it's new, and to give it this structure. The bit that took the longest was actually here. There was a tree had grown up, the wall was completely destroyed, and the levels are all got to be sorted here. You can see this is actually too high, but you can also see how far the sort of foundations of the wall go down. There's about another foot underground there, but I will level this all out. But yeah, I'm really chuffed with the way it's going, but he's got a few challenges coming his way for next week. He's taken a week off. I'm not surprised, and it's a coronation weekend at the moment, so yeah, everyone is off. But this is the challenge. This is actually what he's facing. So there's nothing to build up from here. He's put stone either side, and he'll go down. There's obviously a tree here, so we'll have that tree out. That's why the digger's here. Sort of landscape it, get it a good footing, and then sort of build up. And here it's just sort of collapsed on itself. It's actually the stone he's looking for, all these middle fillers. That's the one he always runs short of, rather than the toppers or the main building stones. And we've got to decide what we do with this hawthorn here. That one was good because it was basically a solo trunk, and it had structure to it. This is all a bit of a mess and branches and stuff, so I've got to decide what I do with this over the weekend and if we can save it. Trouble if you have a tree close to the wall, it sways around in the wind, its roots are pulling, etc., and then your wall falls down. So they're really not good things to have next to the wall. But there's more stuff happening over here. This is what I've been doing today. This uncropped area here is where I'm just putting a bird mix in. This is part of the stewardship agreement I have on this farm, and I'm going to that contraption over there, going to put some seed in here that will then grow over the summer and provide bird feed through the winter. That's the plan. I'll go and show you how it's done over here. Seed's in here. I like to put it in the back, but my son has filled the back up with motorbike spare parts he picked up on eBay. But anyway, that's the seed. What have we got? It's the right old mix, fodder, radish, spring linseed, millet, that sort of thing. So that's 2 hectare bag of seed that I'm going to put in this field. It's quite windy at the moment, but we'll get on later this evening, I think. And that rake, you've seen it before, it all folds out, and then it's just like literally a rake. It's a straw rake, but it will work for this as well. I will spin the seed on the front of that spinner, and then that will scatter the seed, and then you have to get the rolls out and just flatten it down. But just the implements, this is called a mounted implement. You'll see it's actually hanging on the 3-point linkage, so that swings around and the tractor bounces up and down. That is called a mounted implement. I was out here with a carrier cultivator before, and that's a trailed implement. So that's pulling on the drawbar on there. You can see the hook, the yellow hook down there. And that tends to be the bigger kit. There is a limit to how much you can put on the back. The biggest, heaviest thing you used to carry was a plough, and then you used to have all these things, weights out the front to balance what you've got hanging on the back. But I've been out here with the carrier cultivator earlier, and 2 passes. I've been sort of waiting for we've had quite a lot of rain really for in May. Not as big dollop, but several 10-12 mil days of rain. We had about 3 mil this morning. So the soil is actually in a workable state. And I've got to get on this before it actually dries out. With this wind and sun, this will soon dry out, and it's a right pain when you're seeding fields. You get set up and you've got a time thing, but because this is only just 2 hectares, it takes me 40 minutes to not even that actually, sort of 30 minutes perhaps to cultivate this up to make it look like this. But it's probably taken me 20 minutes to put the implement on, and then I have to take it off, and then I have to put that one on, and then we spin it on, and that will take probably less, 15 minutes I should think I'll see this in, and then I've got to take it off, and I've got to put the rolls on. So it's a right load of faff doing 2 hectares. Much easier to do 200 hectares, because then you have a day and you're not spending all your time unplugging hydraulic pipes and putting it back in the shed and greasing up and things. Anyway, that's a typical farmer grumble, but it's just the challenge when you're just doing a 2 hectare patch of bird seed, and it's why you tend to put the job off. It's like cleaning the gutters or something, but you know it's a really good thing to do, and it's really quite pleasurable once it's all grown up and you see the wild birds coming through during the winter. So we all do it. Anyway, I'm going to show you the crops now, what's been going on there, because they've been enjoying the rain as well. Just before we end up, well, I was going to take you to have a look at the wheat. I wanted to just show you a bit down here I noticed when I was cultivating this, because there's a really annoying telegraph pole here, and by that it's where we can't put any spray or fertilizer on, and you'll be able to see what happens if you don't put anything on and what the wheat looks like. Yeah, it's just here. So you can spray down here, and the big machine just can't deal with a telegraph pole. The booms come up to it and it stops. So this little stretch of weak, horrible looking wheat here hasn't had any nitrogen on it, any fertilizer, and no weed killer. So there's cleavers coming up and some black grass there, and you can just see how this is what happens if you don't put any fertilizer on. That's what it would look like. And then you go just the other side, and it has that dark green lushness to it. There's more tillers, there's more strength to it, and there is a bit of weed there. I'm going to come on to that in a moment, but that's really a demonstration of what fungicides and chemicals do. Yeah, I can see on there, that is completely, not only is it nitrogen, but you can see all the yellow rust on there. So that without the fungicides, that wheat is just breaking down to fungicide and just struggling to survive. It's desperately trying to put a seed head because it's pre-programmed to produce seed. That's all it wants to do, but that isn't going to produce very much seed compared to either side of this telegraph pole, where you can actually put fertilizer on and the fungicides and the weed killers. There's a very marked difference. Anyway, I want to show you just up the top another field where we have a bit of an issue. Now this field of wheat is really good. This is the first wheat, Skyfall. It's this bearded wheat. That's why it sort of looks like barley perhaps, but it's known as a bearded wheat. You can just see there it's got awns on it. Most wheat is naked and doesn't have those awns, but Skyfall does, and that just gives it that little shimmer in the sun. It's a very good looking wheat, but I am so chuffed with this. What I'm looking for as an arable farmer is consistency from one end of the farm, the field, to the other. No sort of weeds presence, and a consistency in the growth, as you can see here. So this is near perfect, but there is a slight issue because this field is called Flagslat, and the thing it loves to grow are spring wild oats. You think you get on top of them and then you have another flush, and we control them because they come up in the spring. They need a contact herbicide, as it's termed, rather than a residual that you put on just after you've put the crop on after drilling. And we put it on, and I'm a little worried because what we've had in May is consistent, really quite nice little bits of rain, 10 mil, 12 mil, 5 mil, but it's added up and it's kept this crop, it hasn't got stressed out. But if I look down here, these spring wild oats, they were knocked back, but they're not exactly dead. And I wonder if this little bits of rain are going to spark these into life, and maybe come harvest they'll come up. I don't know. The moment, I'm a very happy chap, and if I was selling the farm and you could photograph this, it couldn't look better. But the winter barley, as I suspect at the beginning of the year, isn't looking nearly so good. So we're going to nip over there and I'll show you the worst crop I've got on the farm. Yeah. Right, well, this is the winter barley. And at first glance, you think it looks great, and it sort of is great, but it's not nearly as good as it should be. If you swing round, I'd love barley at this time of day. You can sort of see it glistening in the sun, swaying around in the wind. It just looks an absolute picture as you go around there. It's the awns on it that sort of really give it this sort of shimmering, like a mirage look. But if I actually look down, so I come your side and you can see what's happening. This is the field where we had all the sterile brome and things, and we went through that hoe, and this is what we were trying to knock out. So that is the wheat, bearded wheat. Next to impossible at first glance to tell the difference, but there we go. And buyers of barley don't want wheat in it, and I've got lots of wheat in this crop, which is a bit of a bore. And I've also got a lot of grass weeds that have sprung up, like I was showing you in the wheat. They've really got going here, and it's all going to be a bit of a nightmare, because as I look through here, there's plenty of wheat amongst sort of just further down, because it's a bit shorter. There we are. If I do a little handful there, look at all those, just in that patch, all those wheats there. I don't know if you can see that. There we go, all that wheat there. So that just means that's not going to be ripe at time of harvesting. So it's going to be really tricky to actually harvest this. So we'll probably use some glyphosate across it when the barley's just getting to the point of combining, and then that will finesse it out, and then we'll be able to combine it easier. And then I'll have to talk to my grain merchants, plead with him to take my barley with, say, 10% wheat in it. We'll see. And the other slight shock when I come in here is this barley is really cracking on. We're at definite grain field. You can see down here the plant is just starting to go yellow and sort of snessing out, and the date is, well, 4th of June today. We might be harvesting this about 10th of July, 17th of July, just depends how much hot weather we have between now and then. And that's 5-6 weeks away. Eeks! So suddenly it's like an alarm bell going off, grain sheds to be sorted, combine, full service check that it's all in operation order, ready to start harvest. And yeah, it gives you a sort of wake-up call when you see your barley just starting to change colour. So anyway, that's everything that's going on at Harry's farm at the moment. It's going to be a real action stations for the next few weeks, and getting that wall done, moving the cattle as well, and just basically getting ready for harvest. Hope you enjoy this video. If you have, well, keep watching, keep subscribing. Please subscribe actually, because I'm at about 95,000 and itching to get to 100,000 subscribers. So if you don't mind pressing that subscriber button, I'll put a little link on it. I'd be extremely grateful, and see if we can hit that 100,000 subscribers before harvest kicks off. Thanks for watching.